the M1 Macs, and virtualization. This is MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by MacVoices After Dark. Uncensored, off-topic, and always off the wall. MacVoices After Dark is available as a benefit to our Patreon subscribers. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. This MacVoices Live panel wraps up with a conversation about the state of virtualization on the M1 Macs, for gaming, for video production, and for productivity software. And there's even a bit of a debate over the ARM version of Windows. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking.
Oh, regardless, people do buy high-end PCs and gaming stuff.
Right. And that's actually, if I decide to get into gaming again, that's the approach I'm going to take. I'm not going to give up my Apple devices, but if I decide I want to do some serious gaming again, I'm going to build a PC specifically for that.
Yeah.
Jeff Butts, your comments earlier and in the chat room about installing Windows in Parallels or using UMB for a virtual PC, it's something we haven't talked about here for a while. What kind of is the state of the ability to run Windows on an M series Mac at this point? I mean, I know it's not going to work for gaming, okay?
Right.
But as a general use case, how does it stand up right now?
General use case. Now, granted, this is from what I've read and from what I've heard. I haven't tried it myself yet. I haven't been in the M1 arena long enough to really dig that deep. But Parallels is doing well for your basic office tasks. If you need to run some kind of office software that is Windows only, from what I've heard, it's fairly decent for that. UMB, which you can either download that directly from their website or you can buy it in the Mac App Store, and it actually uses QEMU, the Q emulator. It's a front end for QEMU, so it takes all the pain of writing text configuration files, and they even have a gallery of different types of virtual machines that you can download and just install. And basically, you're running a virtual PC on your M1 or M2 based Mac.
I think Dave and I both had, he posted, but Dave and I both been playing with Parallels on the M series since inception of the ARM version of Parallels and before. And
what's the experience?
A couple things with that. First of all, there's no supported way to get Windows on there. It's still you're downloading basically a developer version of Windows, right? Still, yep.
Not Windows 11. It's a full out version.
You can
Windows
get it.
10. Yes, it's that they never released it out of it, because the version of Windows 11 I have is a full out version of Windows.
No, it's a full version, but I think you have to get it through the Insider Preview channel.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Windows 10 you had to. Windows 11 you do not. I was able to obtain. I have it. It's fully licensed, and it was.
Okay.
That's great. I had not heard that.
Yeah, I didn't hear that either. I'm gonna go look, but I've had
one at a time, guys.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I think that the Windows 11 licensing is a relatively new thing. It used to be you had to install Windows 10,
yes,
and then upgrade. By the upgrade. But just recently, I saw this headline just in the past few days. Microsoft is now allowing do-it-yourself PC builders to purchase direct licenses for Windows 11 without getting Windows 10 first.
So I'm looking. So you're saying there's a download link for Windows 11 ARM?
Yes.
Out there.
Should be.
Okay, so
I see ARM preview. I see ARM.
Yeah. So Brad in the chat room says he finds Parallels and Office works very fast under Windows 11 ARM.
I'm running it right now as we I'm on the Zoom call, and
I have it on my 14-inch Pro too.
Running great.
Okay. It runs well, but the version of programs that runs are ARM versions of the app, so they're not. I haven't tried to install that much out there on my Parallels, but there are things that aren't going to work on it too. It's getting better, but I don't think it's there yet, to be honest with you, for mainstream.
So Claire, thank you so much for all the comments. I mean, this is a really interesting discussion. I actually built my PC this year. And by the way, I think I've been referring to Claire as her. It could be a him. I'm sorry, Claire. I don't know which is correct, but I'll just call you Claire from now on. I actually built my PC this year, have an M1 on the desk and a huge gaming PC. Now that I'm traveling again, I wish I could take both. I heard about Windows for ARM. Where did that go? I think the gang just answered some of that. So Windows. Yeah. So she says, okay, so Windows does not have an ARM conversion language for regular programs, I guess.
I mean, I'm running Office. I'm running Visio. I'm running Access. It's all running fine on this build of Windows 11.
Where'd you get that?
32 or 64-bit?
64. But Dave, if you put in the chat where you found how to download it through Microsoft, let me know, because I still see the same, either the Windows Preview or this weird UUP dump page that everybody's saying to get it. So I'm not sure if I'm convinced that Windows 11 for ARM is out there in the wild for Microsoft.
Well, Dave's running it, and he certainly is.
No, we're all running it too.
But the question is
there are ways to get it.
You know, you've been able to get it sort of on the sly for a couple of years, but I had not heard that Microsoft. You'd think that would have been a big story if Microsoft was now making it.
I think they're
officially available.
They're not correct. I haven't seen it, and I don't see it. I think you could get the ARM version through the Insider channel, and you could get the 64-bit ARM 10 through the channel, but I don't see anywhere that Microsoft is saying, here, you want to buy a copy of Windows 11.
Yeah, I'll try to find the link to where I got it.
Okay.
Please. Jeff and Andrew, you both are kind of quiet during this discussion. Are you guys just don't have need to run PCs? Yeah, you don't have need to run Windows?
For me, no. I don't think there's anything that I can think of in my workflow that would require Windows. But I agree with a lot of what you guys were saying here, and that, like, to me, when I think of Windows, it's like that's a platform you want if you're a serious PC gamer. So, like, I guess that's just the only thing I can think of that if I wanted to run PC games, that's the platform I would want. Otherwise, like, I don't need Windows.
Oh, there are people, businesses where, like, say they use Access as a database. You've got to have Windows to.
Oh yeah.
For that, or maybe they've written. I think you see less of this now because in-house apps tend to be more like web-based now. So, I think where a decade ago, that was a real problem, that businesses had all these in-house apps that were Windows only. And I'm sure there's still a lot of that, but I think it's a lot less percentage-wise than it was. An awful lot of that stuff has moved to the cloud. So, you can just run it on Mac OS or Chrome OS or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, never mind. I'll comment in the chat.
I'll just say it outright. Access is bloated garbage.
Well, I'm a competitor of them, so I'm not going to argue with that. But there are still people that use it. I mean, apparently Dave uses it.
Yeah, I'd like to gather them all up and teach them proper SQL. But, that's
It's not a matter of I use it. It's a matter of that there's still a very large audience of Access users out there. And as much as you don't like it, it's still a very active community. I mean, just like FileMaker, just like Jim's his product too. I mean, there's just a lot of database programs out there.
I didn't realize it was still that heavily used, but
yeah,
that's interesting. That's interesting.
I mean, it's not SQL Server, and it's not going to be the high end stuff, but yeah, it's still out there used.
Well, Jeff,
I mean, Jim can probably comment it more than I can, since he is. It is a competitor.
Interestingly, it's not something that we hear about much from people asking about compatibility or converting from it. I've almost not heard anything, and actually ever, but especially in the last 5 years, it's just like it's disappeared. I mean, but I know there's another. I'm not going to pick the name of it now. I used to get emails. PC database Alpha, I think. Anybody ever heard of that? And from their emails and stuff that I've seen, sounds like they have a community that's roaring along, but they're just I think Panorama's kind of like that. We've got a community and nobody else knows it exists. There's these and I'm sure there's lots access it from Microsoft, so a ton of people must use it. I have almost never, and to your take, Jeff, I've almost never heard anyone say anything nice about Access. Maybe once or twice in 25 years. And then I've been like, really? I have a couple of times, and I'm like, really? You're the first person I ever heard say anything nice about it.
I've had one guy, and his name was David as well.
There's a lot of people named David, so I don't think David said anything nice about it. He just said it was on his computer.
Well, and Jeff Butts, sort of along the lines of you were saying that there's still a community out there. I mean, there's still a community for Internet Explorer. We had that discussion last week, but that doesn't.
Is there?
Yeah. They're just going into COVID now, by the way.
Well, the thing about databases is this, that's sort of different, is that, people develop applications in databases. So, Internet Explorer, you can just stop using it and use something else. And, It's not something like you have to plan. Whereas, if you spend 5 years building an application in Access or anything else, you're not going to like tomorrow go, oh, I'm going to stop using Access. That's a big project. So that works. Like in my field, it works both for and against us. It means it's really hard to get people to convert from some other program to Panorama, but it also means that Panorama users tend to not, decide, oh, I'm going to go switch to using FileMaker or whatever, because they have a big investment in what they've built.
Well, in the corporate world, like Dave and I could tell you, switching out of Internet Explorer quickly doesn't always work too. People, that was a thing.
Well, back in the day, there were people building applications with ActiveScript, or wasn't that what it was called? They were building websites that would only work with Internet Explorer because they were using proprietary features. But I got to think that there's not much of that anymore.
You would think, until the day it goes away, and then they'll come out.
Yeah, take a trip to Japan.
Yeah, Jeff, you had Jeff Gamet. You had something you wanted to confess.
Yeah, my confession is I don't get what all of this freak out over running Windows is, because it's running perfectly fine for me on my Intel Mac with Parallels, and I'm even running it on an external drive.
Yeah, well, you got an Intel computer. Of course, it's going to run well. You can run Boot Camp off it.
Right. Yeah. So see, I'm not seeing where the issue is. Why are we even having this discussion?
Because you can't buy an Intel Mac.
Yeah, because the M1 Mac doesn't have Boot Camp. And I mean, the reality is, as all these magazines that John Gruber could tell you, there's plenty of Windows laptops out there for many prices if you really need to have one.
Yeah, well, I mean, all of you bought M1 Macs.
Mm-hmm.
That's on you.
God damn it.
About 12 years ago, I was in a doctor's office that was kind of a fancy doctor's office. They were trying to impress their clients, and they had all iMacs, and I was quite surprised because this was, like I said, about 12 years ago. And wow, they're all iMacs, and it turned out they were all running Windows, and they just had iMacs because they thought they looked cool.
Oh, I've been there, done that. I've seen all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Claire brings up, she says, I'm surprised with the widespread use of Mac products internationally, but the Windows guys have not tried to capitalize on that and really push for M-chip compatibility in a big way. So,
Soon.
How would they do that?
this edition of Mac Voices is supported by our Patreon subscribers and Mac Voices After Dark. Ever wonder what happens before the Mac Voices live shows? Or what happens when the show ends or after the live feed closes? That's where Mac Voices After Dark comes in. If you are a Patreon supporter at any level, you get access to the video of our off-camera conversations. Uncensored, unedited, and always off the wall. It's a small thank you to our Patreon supporters who want to peek behind the curtain. Become a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/MacVoices. And thanks to everyone who supports the show.
Yeah, it's a lot more complicated than people might think.
Yeah.
I don't think Apple has fully disclosed all of the low-level programming requirements that would be needed to access the GPU in a useful way. And that's why we're not seeing much in the way of alternate operating systems for Apple Silicon yet, for the M1 or the M2. It's coming.
Linux is available now.
Just barely. It does not have hardware acceleration. It does not have graphics acceleration. Or if it does, it only just came in the latest alpha.
I think it does now. And
but it's very buggy.
An interesting thing. Well, but that is not going to last very long.
No, but I mean, understand that the Mac Studio just got support under Asahi a week ago. You couldn't install Asahi on the Mac Studio until a week ago.
Well, because but those people are out there doing it,
right?
And it's taken a while because Apple's not throwing any resources at it,
right?
But the interesting thing is that Apple now, I guess in Ventura now they have this new virtual support, and they've got virtual support also for running Linux in containers. That also interestingly can use Rosetta, so that you can have if you've got your virtual machine running Linux, that can have x86 apps.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, that's added in Ventura.
How user forward is that?
And Apple was talking about it at WWDC. This is an official Apple thing that you can run Linux in a virtual machine, and I think what you're talking about is running it on bare metal. But Apple is now supporting it in a virtual machine, and that Rosetta is passed through so that you can run x86 Linux apps.
Okay.
And so, there's a lot of people in the web dev world that like to, use Docker and set up containers, to do server development. And their server is probably an x86 machine. And so that was sort of a wrinkle. Like they used to be able to, on a Intel Mac, they could, virtualize Linux and run exactly what was on their server. And then with the M1, they couldn't do that anymore. Well, now they're going to be able to do it again. You'll be able to run exactly on your Mac, exactly what is running on your server. I think it would be really interesting to see somehow. And again, this is something that's probably too small for Apple to go after, although, gosh, there are a lot of server machines. But, it seems like the M series would be just so awesome in server equipment.
Cool.
So other than like not like racks of minis, but, actual server equipment, it would be really cool if Apple would somehow, sell somebody chips or something to be able to do that.
Yeah, but think how many times we've made that statement right there, Jim. It would be really cool if Apple would.
Well,
but
I think it's not completely far-fetched. How many servers does Apple have? Apple might, just the market of Apple for server equipment is going to be phenomenal. And Apple probably wants to have, and also, M1s, like, the M series, look at the power savings and speed. How is that going to, that could be big wins on server farms, which Apple has a ton of server farms. So they may want this just for, end use, house use, and it would be awfully nice if they would, let some crumbs out for the rest of us. But, I could see them doing a deal with, like AWS. AWS, I believe now is making available. You can rent M1 server instances from AWS. I think it's not super affordable, but and I'm not sure what the background technical details are. But so I don't think that's completely out of bounds.
Guys, we didn't get to have this. I think there are like 3 stories still left on the table that we didn't get to tonight. This has been really interesting.
I just want to make sure I make a point on Parallels. I did put a link in our chat here. There was a knowledge base article from Parallels. The method of getting a download for Windows 11 is it's built into Parallels. They have a link directly to Microsoft, which isn't publicly available on the website. When you go to click at it, the knowledge base article shows how you do it. And I couldn't remember how I did it, and now I remember. But you just go click that in Parallels and download it. It installs it, it activates it, and it's an ARM-based version of Windows.
So Parallels has a deal with Microsoft?
No. The link you sent, right in that link, if you scroll down, it says you have to register for for developer preview.
But that's after Windows 10. I just tried doing it again in Parallels now because I can set up another one. You click that link, it's going to say download and install Windows. If you see the first part of that article, that's where it shows it. There's a box there.
When it's activating it, does it activate it?
Yes, it does.
So
how activated version?
How are you doing that? How are you getting that?
I went through the activation process, and I had already it actually migrated a license I had for Windows 10, so I got the upgrade to Windows 10 using the Windows 10 license. But if you'd go out to purchase a new version of, if you want a new license, it'll go through the activation process and give you.
They have instructions for how to buy it on this knowledge.
Even though it says that next part of that article says that Windows 10 is ARM is no longer available, but it does skip that part. Because I did go through those steps, and that's how I have the full version ARM based in Parallels on an.
But Dave, they have a screenshot on buying it, and it says Windows 11 Pro Insider Preview.
Right, but as far as I know, that's what I got. So
right, but the Insider Preview is exactly what I said. You have to be in the preview channel. It's only in the preview channel. It's not out on the Microsoft facing.
Right. They've got it linked into Parallels, right? I know. Yeah, you can't buy it flat out. No,
but all you're getting is a preview version. You're not getting. There's no version of it.
Doesn't say it's a preview version, but okay.
Says the man who's running every beta in the world, Warren.
Yeah, but
well, I think the question might be, for a company, is this something that the company could, like maybe Microsoft doesn't provide any support. I'm not saying they don't, but it's one thing for one of us to just run it on our computer and say that's great, and another thing, maybe some Fortune 500 company say, well, what's this? We can't put this on.
There's no. If it's hidden in one KB article in Parallels, and if you were able to put it on a VM. And Microsoft had the ability to sell it because they're not giving you a free license. They're giving you a license that maybe you could buy. You only got it activated because you had 10. Then Microsoft's going to put it out on their website that you could buy a copy of the VM. So
there were stories of
hang on.
That Qualcomm, that Microsoft had an exclusivity deal on the ARM version with Qualcomm, and then maybe that's why they weren't selling it.
We'll play.
Yeah, hey, I know Jeff Butts needs to go, and actually we're at time anyway. So I'm going to wrap us up and say thanks, to everybody. This has been a really dynamic discussion, especially thanks to Claire in the chat room for blogging it on and keeping us going, because there's some really good information coming out here.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to flip things around a little bit and let Jeff do his goodbyes and get out of here. Jeff, thank you for being here. It's great to have you back again. Please let us know where folks can find you when you're not here.
Yeah, I was glad to pop in. You can find me at Mac Observer. You can find me on Twitter as Clefmeister, and I'm also the voice behind Mac Observer's Twitter handle. And I'm on Instagram as Recovering Phoenix, or it might be Recovering Phoenix 72. I can't remember which.
Thank you, Jeff. Good to have you as always. Appreciate you being here. Take care.
See ya.
See ya.
So now I guess I'll work the screen from the bottom up since that happened. So Andrew Orr, thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom. Where can folks find you?
Yeah, thanks for having me, as always. You can find me on Twitter at Andrew Orr Not, and then you can find me writing at AppleInsider.com, where I'm writing about, it's pretty much a whole different variety of subjects, but it's all about Apple, and that's what we're pretty good at.
Great. Good to see you, Andrew. Thanks. Indiana, or Jim, where can folks find you?
Just head on down to Panama and hang a left.
Hey. Other than that,
online you can find me at provue.com, PROVUE, and also on the Twitter at ProVueJim.
Great. Thank you, Jim.
And here.
Jeff, and here, right here, Tuesday nights, always. Jeff Gamet, thank you for joining us again and sharing your gaming opinions. Where can folks find you?
Well, as always, it's a lot of fun to be here. Warren, I do need to point out you missed a spot. So when I'm not advising Warren about the smudges he left on his display, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, jgamet on both, youtube.com/jgamet for occasional videos, here with you on Tuesday, most Thursdays with Dave and Warren on In Touch with iOS, and the Big Show and the Mac Show. And then also on the Context Machine with Brian Chaffin. I get around.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff. Mr. Sklar, how much will you pay us not to tell your wife what all you have hiding in the basement?
Well, she already found it, so nothing. I got nothing. And yeah, my ADHD comes through here and there, so that's what's going on with that. So yeah, I'm here Thursdays with Dave. Probably not this week because she's coming home tomorrow from Chicago, and I got a lot of cleaning up to do. So I probably won't be here. But thanks for having me. Good to see all you after a couple weeks out.
Last but absolutely not least, the man in the brand new Macstock shirt, Mr. David Ginsburg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there it is, right there. Multi-colors too. Macstock 6. Dave, what's the best place for people to connect with you?
You can find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. On my YouTube channel is youtube.com/intouchwithios. On the Mac Show and the Mirage Tech Network on Friday with two of these crazy guys here. Also on Twitter at DaveG65. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. I especially want to say thanks to the chat room, and I said it earlier, but Claire really did spark some of the conversation. So thanks so much, Claire. And thanks to everybody in the chat room who contributed. Brad was throwing some things in, Brian, Rich. So thank you guys all. One last note. Our buddy Frank Petrie is having some health issues. We want to send our best out to him. We're thinking about you, Frank. We can't wait to get you back here on the panel. So hang in there.
Yeah.
With that, this is Mac Voices Live. We do this Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you happen to be. And of course, if you can't be here at that time, the shows end up in the Mac Voices, regular Mac Voices feeds, so that you can enjoy the wisdom there. Because usually most of the stuff we talk about is not necessarily time sensitive. YouTube.com/Mac Voices TV is where you'll find us doing all that stuff. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.